Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a transfer talk with me, Dan Bardell. It's a show sponsored by Match Bingo. And if you want to download the Match Bingo app, if you head to 1874.io/matchbingo, or if you're watching via YouTube, scan the QR code that's on the screen the whole way through this show, then you'll be able to check out what Match Bingo are all about. Really fun little game that you can play when the football's on. Of course, they're doing the World Club Cup as well. So you can win yourself anything between £250 and £25. I think if you're one of the first three people to call bingo, so it's well worth doing. I've won some money on there myself. So yeah, if you want to check out Match Bingo, do go and do that. Now, I asked for some questions on Twitter earlier. I'm going to be honest. Again, I've said this a few times when we've been doing shows recently. Don't feel like loads is changing, loads is happening, but I don't like to go more than a few days without doing a show, and I've had Friday and Saturday off, so I felt like before I go out for dinner tonight, I'd jump on and do a show. Afternoon, Andy Hiley. I hope you're doing well. I'm very well, thank you. Let's have a look then at what people have asked. Well, actually, I'll carry on explaining what I was going to explain before I said hello to Andy. There's not loads out there at the moment. It's going to start picking up now. We're halfway through June. Stuff's going to start happening. Villa are going to start making decisions. I'm sure they're going to have to start making some difficult decisions. Of course, there'll be cogs working behind the scenes, stuff that we're not privy to, or that we can't talk about at times. Some people, you speak to people and the stuff that they can't really talk about. That's fine. But I think over the next 5, 6, 7 days, I think everything's going to become a little bit clearer. We'll know where we stand a bit more. We'll know what the club is planning on doing. But there's stuff going on behind the scenes, and I'd expect lots of movement after June the 30th. That's when you'll start to see. I mean, someone's going to have to go before June the 30th, ideally. Otherwise, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. But after that, Villa will have the flexibility to start spending money, to start shaping their squad for next season. And that's when it's going to become exciting for us. So we've got lots of people on the stream joining me now. We've got Matthew Dawson. Hello, Matthew. Black Country Villain. Good afternoon. Richard Placentino. I hope I've said that right. Afternoon to you. We've got Liam, Rachel Inshaw Lewis, as always, AVFC Stato, absolute legend, and Stephen Nieto as well. So yeah, happy Father's Day to all those that celebrate Father's Day and that are fathers and have fathers, and also obviously feelings go out to people who this day is hard. It's not an easy day for everyone. So my thoughts with people whose loved ones and fathers aren't with them at the moment, and this day can obviously be tough. So yeah, my thoughts go out to all those people as well. Ryan Fletcher says there will be a lot of noise about Villa next week. I'd say it's got to start picking up. I always thought the last couple of weeks would be like this, and it's hard to do shows with what the kind of thing that me and other podcasters do. It's hard to do shows over these few weeks when the season finishes, when things are very, very quiet. I did feel it was the calm before the storm, but I'm waiting for the storm to hit. But inevitably, it's going to have to hit soon, because like we all know, Villa are going to have to do something before June the 30th. Hello, Pete Smith as well, and hello to Andy Hiley. Right, first question that came in from Twitter. Please, if you're on YouTube, ask me some questions and I'll do my best to answer them as best as I can. But we've got one here from Charisma. I'm going to go through these as they've come in. Opinion-based question from me. What's your thoughts about the job Monty has done? I know there is a triangle of power, but as far as I know, Monty is the man who identifies and presents Emery with targets. How do you rate his work so far with the club buying and selling? I think we've got to accept that the job Monty has is not like a typical sporting director would have, in that the manager is in control of a lot more at our football club than they would be anywhere else. Monty could go and work anywhere else in the country or in other leagues, and the manager would not have as much power as Unai Emery has at Villa. It's one of the reasons we're so attractive to Unai Emery. It's one of the reasons I think we'll be able to hold on to Unai Emery for a long time. So Monty's role is not a standard role. Obviously, you've got Damian Vidagani within that triangle of power as well, and they all offer very different things. But ultimately, nothing happens at this football club on the football side without Unai Emery's sign-off or Unai Emery's say-so. It's a bit of a throwback, really, isn't it? Managers used to have a lot more powers back in the Barclaysman days, and it was the manager that would make decisions, the manager that would sign players. So Villa are a little bit of a throwback in that sense. But they have that triangle of power, as Kreuzmer, whose name I'm probably mullering here, mentions, and they all offer different things within their roles. And Vidagani's equally as important as Monty in all this. He's kind of the PR man, isn't he? Vidagani speaking to the players, speaking to prospective players and agents. He does that very well, whereas Monty is more on the identification side. He puts a player to Emery. Emery will look at it, and I'm sure Monty's put loads of players in front of Emery, some that he signed, some that he hasn't, and Emery has his own ideas with players, as we know from some of the signings that we've made. We know previously Emery's really, really pushed for certain players. He really, really wanted Ross Barkley. We got him. He really, really wanted Morgan Rogers. He identified him after we played Middlesbrough in the Cup. He really wanted him and felt he could improve him. So there's lots going on. And of course, there's a supreme scouting and data team behind the scenes as well. A lot of them are Spanish contingent as well. So there's a lot of different kind of spheres to what goes on at Villa behind the scenes. But I think Monty's doing a decent job. That role is crucial in terms of it has to be someone that Emery understands and someone that understands Emery and knows his role, knows the limitations of the role, and they all need to be able to communicate together. Their offices are all next door to each other at Bodymoor Heath. They open up and they can all work together at specific occasions. So I think you have to factor in Monty's job isn't as clean cut as other sporting directors. If you think of our old sporting director at Tottenham in Langer, his remit will be very different to Monty's in what he does at Tottenham and the player identification side of things and the way the club signs players. So I think Monty is doing a good job, and he's a very, very important part of this football club. You can tell he's got a good relationship with the players that are at Villa as well. The Vidagani, Monty, Emery, they're all waiting by not Emery because he's obviously in the dugout. Monty and Vidagani are always waiting by the tunnel at the end of games. There's good relations between the players and these two. And Monty's a very, very well respected figure in the game that can open doors if they need to be open for Villa as well. So I think he's doing a decent job. So yeah, that answers that question. Question coming in from Liam. Any info on the stadium naming right rumours? Apparently looking into this to raise extra funds. I'm shocked that this isn't something that's come up sooner. I'm shocked that this isn't something that the club have thought about or done before. There is rumours out there. Perfectly honest, I don't know anything about it. I'd be shocked if it wasn't something that they're looking at this summer, because they've got to do something in that kind of realm to make things happen and raise funds. But if I'm being brutally honest, I've not heard anything. So I don't know. I've not really asked anyone about it either. So I can go away and ask people, speak to people. But at the moment, it's not something that I've massively heard about or that I, in myself, know anything about. So I'm not going to sit here and lie and try and dress something up and pretend I know something about something that I don't. I don't know. I know there's other accounts that are saying something big's coming for Villa, watch this space and all that jazz, but I'm not privy to that. I don't know. I don't know is the honest answer. But reading between the lines of people that are tweeting about that stuff, it does seem to be along the lines of something to do with Villa Park, something to do with sponsorship. So yeah, keep your eye on it. I don't know. I will go away and I'll try and find out. A lot of people on holiday at the moment, which doesn't help. Right. And I agree with Rachel Intel-Lewis there, who just says, in the PSR age, any revenue generating opportunity needs to happen. And it is an interesting one because it's always been something I was a little bit against, the naming rights. I always wanted to be Villa Park, but then you just realise that it always will be Villa Park. And Blues have obviously done it down the road, and it's Knighthead at St Andrews. I think it is that they're called. Does it make a massive difference at the end of the day? Probably not. We're all still going to call it Villa Park. Does it help in the modern landscape of PSR? Yes, it does. But I would say as well, there's other things in the sponsorship realm that we can do. The training ground can be sponsored. The training kit can be sponsored. So these are all things that I'm surprised, as a big club that's operating at the top level, they're all things that I'm really surprised we haven't done already, because nearly every team has a training ground, has a training kit sponsor. I think of Manchester United and all the different ones that they've had. There's opportunity to be had there, even if it's small. Every little bit makes a difference in terms of PSR with those things. So I'd be surprised if in the next 6 months we're not seeing more kind of sponsorship deals come that way. And obviously Calvo's coming in now and he's going to get his feet under the table, and he seems like someone who's going to be more aligned with the football side and working better and working more with Monty, Vidagani and Emery, even though he's not on the football side. So I think that's an important thing, and that wasn't the case previously. I think that's really, really important as well. So I would expect to see over the next 6 months, as the new guy gets his feet under the table, that we start to look at stuff like that, because Juventus have been really good at sponsorship opportunities. It's been something they've been really good at, branding over the years. So that's his skill set. So I'd be really surprised if that stuff doesn't happen soon. ENF on X or Twitter is asking, of the three outcomes, do you think Kamara will run down his contract and leave on a free, be sold, or sign a new contract? Now, I don't want to massively go on and repeat myself, but there might be people who haven't watched the last show that we did on Thursday. Myself and French football journalist, got Jonathan Johnson, I couldn't remember his name there for a second. We did a show earlier on in the week, and Kamara came up because obviously Jonathan's a French football expert. Go back and watch that or listen to that if you haven't done so already. My feeling is that the most likely scenario is at the moment, if I was Kamara, I'm just thinking about if I was Kamara myself, I mean, the contract's been there for a while, hasn't been signed yet. So I don't think, I've said previously, I think he will sign it, but now I'm starting to think it's been there for a while now. Is he keeping his options open, as he's got every right to as a footballer? And Villa have used the free transfer market really, really well over the last 3 or 4 seasons. Our central midfield partnership didn't cost a penny in terms of transfer fees, which other clubs must look at and be jealous of and marvel at that in Kamara and Tielemans. Now, Kamara's got a history of running his contract down, so that tells me that he's got smart people around him that have got the best interest of their client in their heads, and that's absolutely fine. That's what an agent and an entourage is there to do. The people in Kamara's camp are there to look after Kamara and make sure he makes the best decisions for him and his career, whether that be on the football side or whether that be financially. They're there to look after Kamara. Now, Kamara's got 2 years left on his contract. The sensible thing, I think, for him to do as a footballer would be to give it another year, see if Villa get themselves back in the Champions League. You're then in a position of massive power, because if Villa get back into the Champions League and you've been a part of that, you're in a position to get yourself probably a better contract than the one that's on the table right now for him. And he's already a highly paid player. It's already going to be a good offer on the table. But if Villa are in the Champions League, undoubtedly you're going to be able to sign a bigger contract with Villa. So the best option for me, if I was Kamara, you sit tight for another year, you get to 12 months left in your contract, you then either sign a contract with Villa, get a move with a year left on your contract that's going to be beneficial financially for you, or you see out that contract and you go on a free to a very, very big club for a hell of a lot of money for yourself, like you did when you left Marseille. So that's my feelings of, take my Villa hat off, because obviously I'd prefer he signed a new contract to Villa now and signed up for Villa for the next 4 or 5 seasons, because he's one of the best number 6s that you can have. And I don't think we're going to get a better number 6 than him, in all honesty, at this current time. But if you're Kamara, the scenario there of running your contract down for another year when you're already on a pretty good contract, I think that puts you in an even stronger position in 12 months' time. So that's what this is my opinion. Expect him to sign a new contract tomorrow. Now I've just gone through all that. My opinion is that leave it another year, and in 12 months' time, you're in a great position, and you can either stay at Villa and sign a new contract, or you can move elsewhere, or go. Once you're into that last year as well, you have a hell of a lot of power as a footballer, and the financial options that you're going to get, the packages that are going to be coming your way, are better than the excellent packages that are already going to come your way now. So that's what I think with Kamara to answer the question. The Pride Down Under podcast, so I'm presuming that's a podcast in Australia, has asked me, you can pick 3 players who will be instrumental to our squad next season. Who do you pick? Matson, Marlon are 2 that I'd definitely put in there. I think they're going to be really big players for Villa next season, and they're going to follow the Tielemans arc. I'm tempted to throw Onana in there as well, but I'm not going to do that. The 3rd player that I'm going to pick is Ollie Watkins. Hello, Kari, by the way, if you're watching. I think Ollie Watkins is going to be back to the Ollie Watkins of not last season, the season before, because we're back kind of in a similar situation of being in the Europa League and the Premier League, the Thursday-Sunday realm. I think Ollie Watkins is going to be our number 1 striker next season. I think someone's finally going to hit 20 Premier League goals next season for Villa, and I think it's going to be Ollie Watkins. So they're the 3 players that I would pick, and I think he's already officially married, but I think he had some form of party yesterday. I wasn't invited, but congratulations, Ollie, and to your family as well. I hope you're very, very happy in your future. Obviously, you've been together with his partner for a long, long time. Anyway. What else have we got? Simon Lambert, do you think Emi Martinez actually wants to leave, or more that he's been told the club need him to go due to PSR, SCR? Also, John Duran back on loan. Simon Lambert, you naughty boy. I'd stay well clear of John Duran. I think I used to say quite a lot about John Duran, and there was a brief spell when he was scoring goals where it probably made me look a little bit foolish. But I would say that overall, everything I've said about John Duran during his time at the club, I ended up being right, because just an absolute nutcase. Villa got a really brilliant fee for him. I think that was really good from the triangle of power. What they did there, the money they got in for John Duran, no doubt he's got talent, but my word, he carries an awful lot of baggage as well, John Duran. So I think in the end, my opinions about John Duran through the last 12 to 18 months, I think I just about came out on the right side of that. I wouldn't go near him. It'd be interesting to see where he does go. If he does go somewhere in the Premier League, then obviously that absolutely stinks. If he's already kind of on his way out of Saudi Arabia on loan as well, with the wages that he's going to be on, I mean, it doesn't make any sense, does it, at all? But there's something stinks there, something awry, if that does happen. But in answer to the question, no, I wouldn't touch John Duran with a barge pole, and the club wouldn't have him back either. Absolutely no chance. And to be fair to Simon, he did put a laughter emoji in there, so I think it was a tongue-in-cheek question. On Emi Martinez, I did speak. This one I can say. I did speak to someone who's in and around Emi Martinez a couple of days ago, and he does have options, but also he's under contract, a big contract. He doesn't have to go. Emi Martinez, the club can want to sell him, and I don't really think that is the case. But I think there's, they're going to have to sell someone, so kind of all options are on the table. Emi Martinez is under contract, so he doesn't have to do anything. Luca Dean has at times nearly been sold, or the club have looked to get him out because he's on high wages, but he's under contract and he's backed himself to stay and get in the team, and that's what's happened. So Emi Martinez has options. I'm trying to think how I can word this. I know of a couple of teams that there's interest in, but I think it requires other things to happen before they can make a move for him with those other teams that would want him. From what I know, I think Manchester United and Atletico Madrid are genuine options for him. That's what people I've spoke to. That's what I've been told. It'd be soul destroying to see him go to Manchester United, in all honesty. I could stomach him going to Atleti and Villa going in for a young goalkeeper. Obviously, we spoke about Chevalier the other day on the pod with Jonathan, but I'd be sick if he went to Manchester United. My first two real bits of heartbreak as a Villa fan were Dwight Yorke and Mark Bosnich going to Manchester United 2 seasons in a row. I think as well, that was genuine heartbreak as a young Villa fan. I think even at nearly 40 years of age, I'd feel just as bad about Emi Martinez going there, especially as they're absolute, they're a far lesser football team than us at this current time. So to see him go there and them to be able to afford him and us not to be able to keep him, that would be soul destroying. If he went to Atleti and played under Simeone, then I think I could stomach that and I could accept it. And in all fairness, if you take your Villa hat off again, you're looking at this absolute box office, isn't it? Emi Martinez with Diego Simeone. I mean, Atletico Madrid playing in the World Club Cup, if they win that, that's near 100 million, I think, of that tournament. Suddenly they've got extra money to spend, but obviously they've got a very good goalkeeper, albeit, a very experienced goalkeeper. They've got Oblak at their club at the moment, who's been there a long time and is a club legend. And if I'm being honest, despite there being interest from Manchester United, which is genuine, they can't take Martinez on whilst Onana's still there. It's the same for us. We couldn't take on a new goalkeeper whilst Emi is still here. It doesn't make any sense to do that. You've got to get a goalkeeper out the building before you bring one in, because they couldn't afford to pay Onana's wages and Emi Martinez's wages at the same time. So June the 15th now, I think we'll start to hear a lot more about this in the next couple of weeks. I've said previously, my thoughts are he's I don't want to say easiest one to sacrifice, but he solves two problems. That's the thing with Emi Martinez. Highest paid player, or one of the highest paid players, definitely. So that solves SCR. And then PSR, you're going to get a good fee for him because he's a top-class goalkeeper. So he kind of hits two nails on the head at the same time. That's definitely not a real phrase, but you take my point of what I mean. So, yeah, I think all options are still there. The option of him staying is still there. Obviously, I saw what his wife said with Ed James on Radio WN the other day, and I did feel she kind of got railroaded into it a little bit. I don't think she's ever going to go on that show and say he's going to go, but I feel she got railroaded a little bit there in that interview, and she's gone on to talk about her business. But that's good journalism from Ed James and WM, not having to go at them at all. That's what they're there to do. And she has just opened a business very local to me, actually, but everything is there. Anything can still happen with Emi Martinez, and people will say that's a cop-out for me, but it's the absolute truth. I spoke a few pods ago that if Grealish was going in 2020 but ended up signing a new contract because he had a change of heart. So anything can happen, but my gut feeling from speaking to people and speaking to journalists, and as I say, someone who knows Emi over the last week, my gut feeling is that he'll be the one to go. But I don't want him to go. It's the last thing I want. Max and I did a podcast a couple of days ago. Go back and listen to that if you haven't done so already. If I could choose anyone to stay out of all our players, I still think I'd choose him. That's how much having Emi Martinez at the football club means to me. Moncheeks on X says, why does our recruitment feel so messy? Why are we linked with every player under the sun? And why do we struggle to get deals over the line? The nature of the transfer window is you will read so much rubbish. Like 95% of the stuff you read doesn't end up happening. You get linked with an abundance of players every single week, every single day, and that's going to continue to happen. Tom Lincolnshire, Villain Sparks has just literally put here something I hadn't seen. We've been linked to Harvey Elliott. We will get linked to so many players. That's just the way it is. But because we're Villa fans, we concentrate and get fixated on the links that we see to our club. But realistically, it's the same everywhere. Tottenham will be getting linked to every player under the sun. Arsenal will be getting linked to every player under the sun. Newcastle, if it's a team that aren't really in competition with us at the moment, West Ham, they'll all be getting linked with an abundance of players right now. But we're fixated and focus on Villa because we're Villa fans. So what we're going through is no different, and it's not a sign of our club not operating well. We've got some of the top operators. Villa are seen very, very well in agent circles, in transfer circles, the triangle of power. Villa are seen as being one of the best operations in the Premier League and in Europe. So it's not anything to worry about at all. So I wouldn't get fixated on all the links because it's just normal. And we've probably been linked with the same amount of players at this stage of the summer as we were at the last stage of the summer this time last year as well. So not something to worry about. A few people asking about that big news. Again, I don't know anything about that. Loads of people obviously asking about Jesus Rodriguez from Real Betis. Jacob has obviously reported that Villa have made an approach. I think, look, he's not an established player. He's played a fair few games. I think he's played over 1,000 minutes for Betis this season, scoring 3 goals. Off the top of my head, I've read Jacob's article. So Jesus Rodriguez from Betis, he's a wide left player. Villa don't play with a winger on the left, so that's interesting. Is he someone that could be trying to play on the right? Probably. Jacob mentioned that he's a multifaceted player and a multifunctional player. He's a winger of size as well, a very good presser from what I've heard as well. He's a very good carrier of the ball, and sounds like someone else we signed who we didn't know a lot about at the time in Morgan Rogers. So it's a very, very interesting one. What I would say is that this is a sign of where we are. So if we were in the Champions League, would we be going to sign this player now? Probably not. We would sign a player in a couple of tiers above, I would say, more of a finished article player, let's say. Now, this is a player that's raw, and he got first team experience. He appeared for Betis in the Conference League final, I think, if my memory serves me correctly as well. So he's a player that has got top level experience, but not loads of it. I think this is a young player. This is the market Villa are operating in potentially this summer, not signing the finished article, bit like when they sold Morgan Rogers, but getting in someone who they can build up, someone who they think can potentially be a star and will only ever go up in value, but might not hit the ground running immediately, but will get first team football. You look at last summer, who was the wide player that we signed? Philogene. Now, I think we probably thought he was further ahead of where he was when he joined and that he'd make more of an impact. And obviously he didn't. And he got shifted in January, rightly so, because we managed to shape our squad a lot better going into the second half of the season. I think Rodriguez would be a player that would play, maybe not start straight away, but also a player that's malleable, that can learn, that hasn't got many preconceived ideas, that Emery can shape, help. Obviously, he's playing in the La Liga as well, which Emery and his staff are going to be able to communicate very, very well with him. Can they shape that player? Can they make him a star quite quickly, like they have done with Morgan Rogers? So that's why I think they're going down this route. I think they would have had a different list of targets had we qualified for the Champions League. I think we would have had 2 shortlists, to put it in Football Manager terms. I think we would have had a shortlist for if we qualify for the Champions League and a shortlist for the Europa League. reading between the lines, I don't think Jesus Rodriguez would have been on that shortlist had we qualified for the Champions League, but we haven't. So he's on the list, and he's potentially the wide player that we're going to buy. Jacobs mentioned in the Athletic that Villa are targeting a right-sided centre-half, a right-back, a winger, and then the rest will depend on outgoings. Now, we're already 3 men down on the squad from last season, obviously, because we've not got Asensio, Rashford, and Axel Dizaza as it stands. They're players that have all left the club because will leave the club at June the 30th when their loan contracts expire. So we're already 3 men down. You've got to imagine, and I don't think it'll be a case of those 3 are not here and it'll be 3 coming in. I think they'll maybe think they can operate with a man down this season compared to what they had last time round, and players like Marlon will get more minutes. Because don't forget, if everyone was fit, which doesn't often happen, obviously, if everyone was fit last season, a big player on big wages was missing out every single week. It probably would have been Leon Bailey, let's say. So it could be that Bailey goes, but he's not directly replaced with a first team ready to hit the ground running straight away winger. It could be that it's Rodriguez that comes in and Marlon gets more football. At the moment, Marlon could be the backup centre forward, for example, as well, with Ollie Watkins, but with the ability to play on the right-hand side. Tony Linkacheville is completely right. We're 4 down because Robin Olsen has left as well. Of course, we need a backup goalkeeper, and Jacob did say that. I just forgot that then and didn't read it out. So, yes, 4 men down at the moment. I did miss Robin Olsen. I'm very, very sorry. K22M says, we were linked with Rodriguez in the summer before he made his Betis debut, apparently. Don't remember that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't remember seeing that, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's come from a very suspect source there. He's saying, K22M, he's saying, according to our boy Neil at the McGrath podcast, it's a suspect source that I'd need to get dodgy sources like that completely verified. Neil from the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, not sure about him as a source at all. So yes, no, I'm joking. If he said it, he's not going to say it if he doesn't think it's true, is he? But that's not something I've heard and not something that I've seen. Kari says as well, Paddy bosses that show. Good chance for me to give my friends at the Love of Paul McGrath podcast a plug. If you're not subscribed to that podcast, do go and subscribe to it, because Paddy and Neil are 2 of the loveliest blokes on the planet. Absolutely love Aston Villa. Great kind of vibe on their pod. And I've done stuff with them previously. I've even gone over to Ireland and done a live podcast with them. Absolutely love both of them. Love the bones off them. So yeah, do go and check out the Love of Paul McGrath podcast if you haven't done so already. They're very good at talking about obscure players that Villa might have targeted that people might not know loads about. So do go and say that. Paul D says, can you please say we're going to get a right back, even if you have no clue? Jacob says we are. My thoughts are we won't, but that Jacob is going to have spoken to people before he's published that Athletic article, and he wouldn't say it if he didn't think it. But my thinking is that Garcia and Cash will remain, and the right-sided centre-back will be able to play right-back that we bring in, or it will be Bogard who can obviously play there as well. So my personal opinion is the way the window is going to unfold, and this is opinion, as I just said, I don't think Villa will end up with a right back, but I've been wrong many times before, and I'll be wrong again. That's just my opinion. Kari says, I think Chelsea steal Rodgers on the final day of June for 75 million. I've spoke about my worry of going into the final week of June and no one having departed loads of times, so I'm not going to do it again. God, if we had to sell him to Chelsea for 75 million again, I'd be absolutely heartbroken, but it's something that concerns me going into that last week and potentially losing Rodgers. And let's not forget, we lost a player 12 months ago who we probably in an ideal world didn't want to lose in Douglas Luiz, and lost him for a lower fee than we would have wanted to as well. So it's a difficult one. Luiz, obviously, there was the contract issue. There's some similarities actually between Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara situations this summer. So although I'm saying what I think Kamara should do, there's a lot of parallels between Kamara and Douglas Luiz at the moment. Although Luiz, I think, he hadn't rejected it. He hadn't signed a contract that had been on offer as well. He had 2 years left on his contract. So there is some parallels there. So maybe that's one to keep an eye on just because of the parallels there. Right, I've been going for 30 minutes now, so I'm going to stop. I don't like these shows being longer than 30 minutes. I haven't got through all the questions that were asked, but I've got through a fair chunk of things there, I think. Thank you very much to those that have joined me live to add to it and ask questions as well. please continue this when I do these live streams. That's what they're here for. They're for you to be able to ask questions and for us to have discussions about things we may not have discussions about without you guys. So I really, really appreciate all the regular people that are in there. No David Styles today. David, absolutely appalled and shocked at your behaviour. You always catch the lives and you haven't done today. So absolutely disgusting behaviour from you, David Styles. If you have watched via YouTube live or you're watching it now on YouTube, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe with your post notifications on. That would be really, really appreciated. Numbers are going up all the time. If you could do that for me, I'd really, really appreciate it. So yeah, if you're not subscribed on YouTube, please go and do that. If you're listening via audio, 5-star review, saying something nice in the reviews or the comment section on Apple and Spotify, that's the order of the day. If you can do that for me, really, really good of you. I'd really, really appreciate it. All these little things help with the channel. So if you're enjoying the content and you're enjoying what we're doing here, we're putting out a lot of content at the moment, and I've got a plan together for next week. There'll be plenty of content coming next week. Do watch out for that. You'll look on our socials as well and see when content is coming. We're aiming to go pretty much daily, but if there's nothing to talk about, I mean, it's not loads to talk about today. If there's nothing to talk about, I don't want to just come on for the sake of it and not offer you anything. It's a waste of everyone's time. So I don't want to do that. Other people might just churn content out every day for the sake, content out every day for the sake of it. I don't really want to do that, but I do want to try and go as daily as possible. So do subscribe to us if you can, and watch out on our socials as well for when content is coming out. If anything happens in the next 24 hours, I'll jump on and obviously talk about it. I think the next few weeks are going to be a lot quicker than a lot more going on than the last few weeks. So yeah, I'll probably be jumping on more and doing a few lives. But yeah, watch out for all the content. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Again, everything I said about Father's Day stands. So love to you all. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And as ever,